Chapter 1 Pilgrimage. This is the full story of the Knights of the Nine DLC for the Elder Scrolls Oblivion. When travelling throughout Cyrodiil, the hero may overhear NPCs discussing a new topic regarding a terrible attack on the Chapel of Dibella located in Anvil.
They say that the priests and priestesses of the Chapel of Dibella have all been murdered. No one even knows who did it.
Apparently, no one has any idea who did it. Now there's some prophet preaching doom in the streets of Anvil.
The servants of Dibella, slaughtered on the very altar of love. Truly shocking.
No!
The prophet topic will then be available in rumours for almost every male NPC barring Bretons and the Daedric races, and all female Imperials in the game, including those created for the Shivering Isles expansion and other official plugins. Approaching a local guard in the Imperial City's market district, they will further reveal.
Anvil is all in an uproar. First the chapel attacked, now the prophet ranting about the end of the world. Stay safe, citizen. These are dark times.
Dark times indeed. We can then head to the western coastal city of Anvil to further investigate, and it's there its guard will confirm the dark rumour spreading.
By the time we got there, it was too late. We have no idea how they got in or out without any of our patrols seeing them.
It's then the pilgrimage quest is officially added to our journal.
Be seeing you.
Making our way just over the bridge to the chapel, the entry reads, I've heard rumours of an attack on the Chapel of Dibella in Anvil. No one seems to know what happened, but all the priests and priestesses were killed and the altars were desecrated. It might be worth going to Anvil to see for myself. As promised, when we enter the city gates, we see to the east, the prophet is ranting his sermon to passers-by.
Is there no one who would stand for the Nine? The blood tide rises.
Curiosity, however, gets the better of us, and as we move to step inside the great temple, the guard out front intercepts us, saying,
I wouldn't go in there unless you have a strong stomach. We have orders to leave everything just the way it was until the investigation into the chapel attack is finished.
It's then we inquire, what happened here? And he replies,
It's baffling. How anyone could have gotten in and out of there without being seen by our patrols is beyond me. Maybe that prophet is right. Some kind of unholy doom visited upon us.
Tell me, what do you know about this prophet?
He preaches most of the day across the street from the chapel. I used to think he was crazy, but now he seems to be making some kind of sense. I hope that doesn't mean I'm going crazy now.
So, a once thought crazy prophet's predictions have come true. The attacker's entry and identity remain a mystery, and soon we see why as we step inside the chapel's great doors. Entering the Chapel of Love, we see it is far from Dibella's ideals. The floor is spattered with thick goblets of blood, and the interior, a ruin of pews upended, and thick smoke hangs high in the air. Worse than the physical desecration is the slaughter of Dibella's acolytes. So, in a morbid meeting, we can see what they were like before their unpleasant demise at whatever force cut their lives short. Starting to the right, slumped over a pew, is a Bosma Laralthir. In life, she was the temple healer, and upon meeting her, she would introduce herself as well as show envy towards the Countess.
How goes it? Me, I'm just Laralthir. I wish I were the Countess of Anvil, to tell you the truth. That Malona Umbranach, she's got it made.
Asking about Anvil, she will go on about town life, saying,
Restless folks like you don't much like town life. Too slow and easy. For you, the life of the rover, gold and glory, blood and treasure. Take care.
If only she knew the horror in store for her. Momentarily moving past the shrine to the northwestern wall, we find next to an upturned lamp, a Redguard woman in a green and blue dress Travaya lying face down in a pool of her own blood. When you approach her in life, she would introduce,
"Give yourself to love, pilgrim. I'm Travaya, Priestess of Dibella, and this is Anvil's Chapel of Dibella."
When asking her about Anvil, she will explain her duties in the chapel.
Dibella has shed her special blessings on Anvil. We greet travelers with hospitality and the needy with an open hand.
A sad state that the followers of Dibella greeted once by open hands, yet their hospitality was cut short with a closed fist. And finally, we head to the main altar in the center of the chapel, with words scrawled in unknowable symbols, which we will soon learn their true meaning, but for now we focus on the poor Dumania Jirich, splayed out on the altar in a mocking fashion in a pool of her own blood that soaks into her upper-class red velvet attire. In life, Jirich was an imperial priestess and primate of the chapel. Ironically, one of her many duties was tending to the graveyard, where she would rake its lawn and care for the dead, which she soon would be joining. Upon meeting her, she would introduce,
Dumania Jurich, primate of Anvil, I speak with the voice of Dibella and greet you with love.
When asked about Anvil, she prefers to talk more about herself, adding,
They say that I was selected as Dibella's primate in large part because of my loving nature and my striking looks.
Yes, striking looks.
Bye.
That's Oblivion for you. Before we leave the ruined temple, it's worth noting there is a surprising bounty of clues as to the mysterious culprit behind the massacre. However, moving around the Undercroft, as it is filled with sanctified dead even before the DLC is installed, instead we can head to the main hall. Within, you can find more books giving backstory to the many characters in the DLC, including the Song of Pelinal Volumes 1 through 8, Shazar and the Divines, and the Abadala. Collectively, these books impart a tale about a champion of the gods, Pelinal Whitestrake, and his story is entwined with our very quest, so for clarity and expediency's sake, I will give an abridged version. During the First Era, humanity was all but enslaved by the Aelids. A Nedic woman, later dubbed Alessia the Slave Queen, would lead humanity in a rebellion against the elves during this time. It is said Pelinal emerged into Nirn like a patamaic, carried by Sithis and all other forces of change. Described by his friend Morihaus as an Ardor or spirit, Pelinal plays the same role as a long line of avatars sent by Shaw to champion the cause of mankind and stop the elves from destroying them. Pelinal, however, is an exception, as he exhibits significant bonds to Akatosh as well, as he had the Amulet of Kings embedded in his very chest in place of his heart, leading people to question if he was in fact a spirit, a cyborg, or something else entirely, as many stories during the Merethic era were composed of myth entwined with fact. Pelinal also happened to possess the Crusader's relics, which were gifted to him by the 8 divines, yet his aid came at a price. Legends say Pelinal often had stretches of homicidal madness, during which he slew indiscriminately and took a toll on the very landscape itself, and, unfortunately for the Khajiit, mistook their kind for the hated elves and slaughtered them wholesale. At the culmination of the war, Pelinal, who had killed many Aelids, had then breached the White Gold Tower, and it was there Umaril, the Unfeathered, challenged him to a duel. Umaril, the Sorcerer King, was said to be half elf, half god. He, with the other Aelids of Cyrodiil, worshipped the Daedric prince Meridia and was named the champion of her Aurorans and imbued with immortality. Pelinal, outraged by other rebel leaders' hesitation to attack White Gold Tower, went in alone to confront Umaril. However, upon his arrival, Umaril first weakened Pelinal by sending in soldiers whom he had been saving for that moment, knowing full well that they would die. It was only after Pelinal was bleeding and wounded that Umaril finally came down to fight him. Now, Pelinal slew Umaril nonetheless, but his victory was short-lived. The other elf kings descended upon him and cut him into 8 pieces in mockery of the 8 divines and carried them away, leaving only his head as a gift to Alessia. His head was later found by his Minotaur friend Morihaus, and it was then Pelinal would regret to inform him that he had learned the bitter truth too late, that Umaril would one day return and Pelinal would not be able to stop him. For more on Pelinal, there are actually great videos online, plus a kick-ass opera I will link at the end of the video. Now, armed with the knowledge of Pelinal's story and after performing sufficient research, we exit the chapel and finally cross the street to listen to the prophet's rant atop the steps.
Is there no one who would stand for the 9? Oh, unhappy Tamriel! Where is your divine Crusader in these latter days of petty strife and lesser men?
The prophet boasts a formidable amount of dialogue and lore, and so for expediency's sake, the entire speech will be played at the end of the video. Approaching him, he says,
So, another one who has come to listen to the madman's rantings?
It's then we can learn the identity of the mysterious Anvil Chapel attacker.
This is only the beginning. Umaril has returned as foretold by Pelinal Whitestrake in his dying breath.
As some of the responses are out of sequence, I've rearranged the conversation to make more sense, and we ask, who is Umaril?
He was defeated but not destroyed by Pelinal the Crusader. Now he has returned to seek vengeance against the gods. Only a true knight, wielding the holy relics of the divine Crusader, has a chance to defeat Umaril.
Learning more about the Ayleid Sorcerer King's backstory, we ask, Umaril, who's that?
Umaril the Unfeathered, the Sorcerer King of the Ayleids, who ruled over this land for long ages before the rise of men. He was cast down by Pelinal Whitestrake, but Umaril's spirit survived, and now he has returned to seek vengeance upon the gods.
Who is this Pelinal Whitestrake?
Does no one remember the old tales? Saint Pelinal, the divine crusader of legend, Alicia's companion when she overthrew the rule of the Ayleids 3,000 years ago. Pelinal, with the aid of the gods, fought the Ayleid sorcerer King Umaril and slew him. But Umaril's spirit survived, and he has now returned.
Although we want to learn how Umaril has returned, our only option is to respond quite bluntly as we demand. Just tell me who attacked the chapel.
Do you understand nothing? The blood speaks. I can read the ancient runes if you cannot. As uibala, umarale el nada rakuva. In the Ayleid tongue, by the eternal power of Umaril, the mortal gods shall be cast down. A curse upon Umaril's ancient foes, and a threat.
The mortal gods? Is that why he gleefully desecrated the Chapel of Dibella? Tell me, old man, how do we stop Umaril?
Alas, Umaril cannot be stopped. Not without the aid of the gods, not without the Crusader's relics. Without a champion, the gods are powerless to act. But who among us is worthy to wield the divine Crusader's weaponry?
It's then we have the opportunity to limp out of the quest as it's too much of an undertaking to bear and say, I'm sorry, I don't know who will stop Umaril. And he will respond accordingly.
Nor do I. Oh, my people! Who will save you from destruction? Is there none now worthy to be your Crusader?
If instead we heed the call for the righteous Crusader, we will say, I will quest for the relics.
You would quest for the holy panoply of Pelinal Whitestrake? The legendary relics that have been sought by mighty warriors throughout the ages? Are you a worthy knight?
As a really cool part of the quest, you can respond depending on your infamy and fame, but also your faction will garner different responses from the prophet. So we can say, yes, I am a worthy knight.
That is usually best left to the gods to judge.
It should be noted, regardless of your public standing, if you do boast about one of your factional ranks, whether believing you to be immodest or not in need of his help in getting started, the prophet will turn you away. Such as if you say, yes, I am the hero of Kavach.
Well then, hail, hero of Kavach! Let me add one more voice to the never-ending chorus of praise. I'm sure one of your many devotees will be able to guide you on your way to find the Crusader's relics.
I take it back, he's clearly mocking us. We can say, post completing the main quest, yes, I am the champion of Cyrodiil.
And never let anyone forget it, champion. I salute you, yes. This small matter of the Crusader's relics should be a trifle for a legend such as yourself.
Completing the Fighters Guild questline, we say, in our burliest tone, yes, I am the Fighters Guild Master.
I apologize for even asking the question. Most esteemed master, please. Do not allow me to interrupt your quest for the relics.
Completing the Mages Guild questline, we can say, yes, I am the Archmage.
And a worthy successor to Hannibal Traven, I have no doubt. I'm sure your arcane arts will locate the lost relics for you in no time.
As the listener for the Dark Brotherhood, we respond, no, I serve Sithers.
Indeed. And yet you would seek the holy relics. The gods will find you an interesting plaything, I have no doubt.
As the head of the Thieves Guild, we have a cheeky response of, not unless the Grey Fox is a knight.
An honest thief? I'll leave it to the priests of Zenithar to debate that paradox with you.
Now that we've learned bragging about titles does nothing, we can actually say, no, I have no claim to fame, but there are 3 different responses based on our infamy. The first, if we do have infamy, he will say,
let the gods be the judge of that. I cannot see into men's heart. I see only their words and deeds.
If we have no infamy but do have fame,
a humble heart is a good starting point. The gods will decide if you are worthy to seek the relics.
And finally, if we're fresh out of the sewers with neither infamy nor fame, he will say,
perhaps, perhaps not. What men value is not always what the gods look for in a champion.
There is one dialogue option that never appears as the faction rank check, so there is a bug. But if we state, yes, I am the grand champion of the arena.
Oh my! The grand champion of all Cyrodiil? By Azura, indeed. Surely there can be no better preparation for becoming a holy knight than a career spent slaughtering for the public's entertainment.
Even though the subtitles say, by Azura indeed, the actual line of dialogue is, by Azura, by Azura, by Azura indeed, a tongue-in-cheek reference to the adoring fan. The line is even spoken with the same intonation as the fan, and really it's a shame that it never made it into the final version of the game.
By Azura, by Azura, by Azura! It's the Grand Champion! I can't believe it's you standing here next to me.
Finally, responding humbly, we can ask the prophet about the Crusader's relics, in which he responds,
the weapons and armor of Pelinal Whitestrake, Alicia's comrade, granted to him by the 8 divines. He went alone into the white gold tower, challenged the alien sorcerer King Umaril to single combat, and slew him. Alas, Umaril was not truly slain, but only cast beyond the bounds of Nirn. And now he has returned to wreak his vengeance upon the gods, as was prophesied by Pelinal himself with his dying breath. Only a true knight, wielding the holy relics of the divine Crusader, has a chance to defeat Umaril. But alas for Tamriel, the Crusader's relics have been lost for many an age. Who now can succeed in the quest for the relics, where the greatest knights of legend all failed?
Wait, everybody before us failed? That's not a strong endorsement. We then ask, how can we find the relics?
The gods grant insight to those they deem worthy. Why and how they act is not predictable. What I can tell you is that, traditionally, knights who wish to quest for the relics would walk the pilgrim's way. Travel to the way shrines of the 9 divines. Pray to each of the gods in turn, and ask their favor upon your quest. If the gods deem you worthy, you will be granted a sign. Go forth with the 9's blessings.
And so the prophet has now given us all the tools we need to head off on this holy pilgrimage.
Walking the pilgrim's way is the traditional start of a holy quest. Follow the map I gave you, visit the way shrines of the 9, pray, and wait for a sign. May the 8 and 1 guide your steps.
Checking inside our inventory, we see that the prophet has indeed gifted us with a map of the 9 divines' way shrines, scattered about Cyrodiil. Our journal also updates saying, I've spoken to a mysterious prophet who told me that in order to seek the relics of the Crusader, I must first do a pilgrimage to the way shrines of the divines. He gave me a map of the pilgrim's way to help me locate the shrines. Once I've visited a way shrine for each of the 9 divines, I may receive a vision if I am judged a worthy knight. Heading up the Gold Road to the nearby way shrine of Arkay, just west of Kavach, we can pray at the way shrine which says, Honor your body and spirit. Pray at my chapel altars to receive my blessing. Another interesting tidbit about the way shrines is you cannot complete the pilgrimage whilst wearing the grey cowl. Any attempt to activate a way shrine will result in the prompt, the gods are not mocked. They require an honest heart, not one hidden behind a false face. When your infamy is above 0, every shrine will still give the same message, continue your penance to earn the gods' forgiveness. However, unique to the DLC, your infamy will be reset to 0 once all 9 shrines have been visited, although unfortunately if at any point during this questline you receive more than 1 infamy point, you will have to complete the entire pilgrimage again. During our journey, usually on the Green Road north of Breville, Sir Roderick of Wayrest, an Imperial warrior, is added by the Knights of the 9 official plugin. His squire Lathon will regale us of Sir Roderick's conquests, saying,
I am Lathan, squire to Sir Roderick of Wayrest. We are on a holy quest for the Crusader's relics. Sir Roderick is a famous knight of Wayrest in High Rock. He is too modest to tell you himself, but he was a hero of the War of the Bendramach.
To which we can respond, wait, didn't Wayrest lose that war?
Well, yes, but Sir Roderick won many battles all the same. I'm sure if we had had more knights like him, we would have beaten the Nords.
Or being far more cordial, we can say, I am sure he's a mighty warrior.
He is. I've been his squire for almost 2 years now. Soon I'll be ready to return to Totambu and become a Knight of the Scarab.
If we ask the squire about the Crusader's relics, he will further reveal.
Surely you've heard the stories of the quest for the Crusader's relics. Only a true knight can find them, or even wield them. Sir Roderick will surely succeed if anyone can.
Moving on to Sir Roderick himself, asking him about the pilgrimage before you speak to the prophet in Anvil will have him tell you about his quest.
I've taken up the call of the prophet to quest for the Crusader's relics, and so I walk the pilgrim's way. Have you not heard what happened to the chapel in Anvil?
Asking him about the Anvil Chapel will have him tell you what he knows about the recent grisly events at the Chapel of Dibella.
It was terrible. I fought in many battles, but this... The priest and priestesses of Dibella, slaughtered within the very walls of her chapel. The altar itself, desecrated. No one saw who did it. No one yet living, that is, although many heard the screams. Speak to the prophet in Anvil. He knows what this portends. He says it is only the beginning.
He will also share how the prophet's preaching has affected him.
He preaches outside the Chapel of Dibella in Anvil. No one knows where he comes from, but he speaks the holy word like I've never heard before. You see me now a changed man. Lathon can testify to that. Before I met the prophet, I was nothing more than a hired sword. Go to Anvil. Speak to the prophet. You too may find yourself taking up his holy quest, despite yourself.
When you first encounter Sir Roderick, he will greet you by asking if you walk the pilgrim's path as he does.
Well met, traveler. Have you heard the call of the prophet? Do you walk the pilgrim's way?
Claiming that you are on the pilgrim's way will have him claim that he is as well, and will say that you are welcome to travel with him.
As do I. Perhaps we can share the road, as long as our paths lie together.
Claiming that you are not on the pilgrim's way will have him reply,
No matter. I thought I detected the light of a divine purpose in your eye. Now I must be on my way. The pilgrimage of the way shrines is my only purpose now.
If you claim that is not his concern at what you are doing, it will have him accept your right to privacy.
As you wish. I had no intention to impose myself on your affairs. Now I must be on my way. The pilgrimage of the way shrines is my only purpose now.
If you yourself are on the pilgrim's way, he will instead reply by saying,
I have taken up the prophet's call to defend the faith. Only a true knight, wielding the Crusader's relics, can stop the evil that now threatens us. I walk the pilgrim's way, as did the questing knights of old. I would be glad of your company on the road, if your way lies with mine.
As you end a conversation with Sir Roderick, he will call for the blessing of the Nine.
The blessings of the Nine upon your quest. Perhaps our paths will cross again.
Speaking to Sir Roderick after you initially spoke to him will have him inform you on which one of the way shrines he is currently traveling to. Instead of painstakingly visiting each shrine individually in this video, what better way to discover each shrine and their individual deity than have Sir Roderick announce them for us?
Hail. Come with me, if you will, to the way shrine of Arche. I will offer a prayer for the souls of those who died in the Nine's service. Mother Mara will bless my quest, I'm sure. I go to offer prayers to blessed Dibella, and to swear vengeance on those who profane her chapel and cruelly slew her acolytes. Follow me, if you also seek the divine wisdom of Julianos. His way shrine is this way. I seek the blessing of Kinnereth. Come, pray with me to the goddess of the air. Her way shrine is up ahead. I am on my way to the way shrine of Zenithar. Come with me, and we shall seek Zenithar's blessing together, if you will. Will you come with me to seek the blessing of Stendar the Steadfast? The land is sore in need of righteous governance. I seek the blessings of Father Akatosh, who knows all things and protects us from the unseen threat. Who better to guide us in these dark days? Talos, the Dragonborn, patron of questing knights, will surely look with favor upon us. Walk with me to his shrine, if you will. The blessings of the Nine upon your quest. Perhaps our paths will cross again.
And finally, we pray to the shrine of Talos. A pop-up says, Rejoice, you've completed the pilgrimage of the 9 way shrines and gained the new power of Pilgrim's Grace. And it's then we've completed our pilgrimage to the way shrines of the Divines, and we're told we should pray and wait for a vision to guide us on our quest for the Crusader's relics. Miraculously, our prayer is not only heard, but a booming voice from above proclaims,
Hail, knight
You seek my relics with a worthy heart.
It's then we find ourselves high atop Cyrodiil, met with the very spirit of Pelinal Whitestrike.
Your prayers have woken me from my endless dream. Or perhaps you have entered my dream, and I still sleep. I think others have sometimes spoken to me. Others like you, but my memory is doubtful. Perhaps the others came after you. Your need must be great for the gods to allow us to speak. Has Umaril the Accursed found a way back? The foulest of a foul race, 1,000 curses upon his unholy name. I thought I'd won, but I should have known. The slave masters are a cunning breed. Umaril found a way to cheat death as I could not. If you would seek for my relics, I know little that can help you. All that has passed since my death is like mists that my mind cannot take hold of. My friends built a shrine upon the site of my death, where the elves tormented me in a final act of revenge. I can show you where it once stood. Perhaps it is there still. Fare thee well, Sir Knight. May the gods grant you to destroy Umaril utterly, as I failed to do.
As Pelinal fades, we look down upon the land. Our quest for the Crusader's holy relics begins in earnest. But that is a story for another day. And as promised, we shall end this episode with the Prophet's full rant.
Is there no one who would stand for the 9? Oh, unhappy Tamriel! Where is your divine Crusader in these latter days of petty strife and lesser men? Who will stand for the 8 and 1? Who will complete Pelinals' holy mission of vengeance upon Umaril, the unfeathered? There are lore masters among you, heads so heavy with learning that you cannot raise your eyes to the heavens to see the truth there written. Oh, unhappy Tamriel! Where is your divine Crusader in these latter days of petty strife and lesser men? Who will stand for the 8 and 1? Who will complete Pelinals' holy mission of vengeance upon Umaril, the unfeathered? Hear me, O people of Cyrodiil! The blood tide rises. Are there no ears to hear the warnings? Are there no eyes to witness the wheels breaking? The 8 and 1 favor only the righteous, and too few of you remain. The thief has found the lock that he cannot break, the warrior, the foe that cannot fall, the wizard an incantation that takes not to his tongue. Truly this is the age of the serpent, and the void that follows. The guardians have fallen, and no one remains to watch their charges, and all the heavens are now banquet for the princes of misrule. The 8 and 1 require a champion, a divine Crusader reborn. Cut 8 wise he was, Pelinal the Blamer, champion of men, and though dispersed, he left us a warning. Heed it! I am Cyrodiil come, he said, old Riemann, born from the earth that is Alesh, and yet he would scorn this country now. Repent, I say, repent! Who will walk the pilgrim's way, as did the questing knights of old? Pelinal Whitestrake once struck down the enemies of man and God. Who will now reclaim his relics and fight again for the true faith? Umaril is returned, as was foretold by the head of Pelinal to the Bull of Kine in those days of old. Cyrodiil, will no one take up this holy crusade? Will no one walk the ancient pilgrim's way? Who will stand for the 8 and 1? Who will complete Pelinals' holy mission of vengeance upon Umaril, the unfeathered? Hear me, O people of Cyrodiil. Will no one take up this holy crusade? Will no one walk the ancient pilgrim's way? Who will stand for the 8 and 1? Who will complete Pelinals' holy mission of vengeance upon Umaril, the unfeathered? Look well upon this Chapel of Dibella. Look at the faces of the dead. This is your future. Evil has returned, and the 9 need a champion. Pelinal Whitestrake once struck down the enemies of man and God. Who will now reclaim his relics and fight again for the true faith? The blood of Dibella's slaughtered acolytes cries out for vengeance! Vengeance! Who will take up this holy crusade? The 8 and 1 require a champion, a divine crusader reborn. Will no one take up this holy crusade? Will no one walk the ancient pilgrim's way? Who will stand for the 8 and 1? Who will complete Pelinal's holy mission of vengeance upon Umaril, the unfeathered? Hear me, O people of Cyrodiil. Will no one take up this holy crusade? Will no one walk the ancient pilgrim's way? Who will stand for the 8 and 1? Who will complete Pelinal's holy mission of vengeance upon Umaril, the unfeathered? Is there no one who would stand for the 9? The blood tide rises. And Talos said to the Arctus, let us join as one to fortify this throne, this land, these people, each one glorious under heaven. Would you not do the same, children of Cyrodiil? No, you would not. This is plain. You looked away when the fires flickered, and now act lost that they are gone. Only death remains for Tamriel. Death! And Oblivion. Cut 8-wise he was. Pelinal the Blamer, champion of men, and though dispersed, he left us a warning. Heed it! I am Cyrodiil come, he said, old Riemann, born from the earth that is Alesh, and yet he would scorn this country now. Repent, I say, repent! Pelinal Whitestrake once struck down the enemies of man and God. Who will now reclaim his relics and fight again for the true faith. The Ancient One require a champion, a divine crusader reborn. There are lore masters among you, heads so heavy with learning that you cannot raise your eyes to the heavens to see the truth there written. You pore over your dusty tomes of lore. You study ancient genealogies and bloodlines. Look you to blood for truth. There is truth in blood, but not the truth that you seek. The truth is written in the blood of the innocent, there in the Chapel of Love. Can you not read the ancient runes? Asayuibala Umarile El Nadarakuvar, a curse and a threat to those who have eyes to see and ears to hear. Are there any among you who still understand the ancient tongue? By the eternal power of Umaril, the mortal god shall be cast down. Who will walk the pilgrim's way, as did the questing knights of old? Who will match the deeds of Sir Amiel and his companions when they smote the worm of Elendil to recover the cuirass of the Crusader? The blood of Dibella's slaughtered acolytes cries out for vengeance! Vengeance! Who will take up this holy crusade? Will no one take up this holy crusade? Will no one walk the ancient pilgrim's way? Who will stand for the Ancient One? Who will complete Pelinals' holy mission of vengeance upon Umaril, the unfeathered? I'm here to relieve you.